All right, so starting the timer. So let's take a look at the document. All right, so evaluate the extent to which Christianity changed societies in Latin America in the period 1500 to 1800. So going back over here, I've got my historical skill. This is a change essay. Categories, we're going to be talking about societies. And time period is 1500 to 1800. So I know that right away. All right. Where'd it go? All right. So next up, we've got document number one. Document number one says Dionisio Serra, Catholic priest, religious scholar, manuscript written to aid priests working among American Indian population. Okay, so I've got a Catholic priest writing to other priests. So it's going to be from his point of view about the indigenous population. It is true that those first priests were admirably zealous to teach these poor ones, the American Indians, but for all this, the natives did not leave behind their deception and blindness, especially those who were very distant from the main towns where the priests worked, scattered in remote villages. The doctrine and teaching did not teach them as was necessary. It was those in the place of the devil who hit the hardest, and for it was there the principal teachers of adultery continued to spill their venom and persuade the people not to forget the way of their ancestries. When they performed their adulteries, it was stealth and so hidden that they avoid discovery. All right. To better conceal their deception, they mix their adulterous ceremonies with good holy things, joining light with darkness. Okay, so syncretism, venerating Christ our Lord, saints, together with their idols. Okay, then they even perform the holy sacraments for the same time, making sacrifice fires, killing animals, offering their food and drink, asking favors. They also venerate. Venerate means to worship people who have passed away ancestors. They also venerate the mountains of the Sierra Nevada and the volcano. They go right and make sacrifice because they're ancient temples. All right, so let's take a look. Document number one. Main idea here is the natives are continuing the practices of the natives unless they're being watched by the priests. So if their priests see them, they say no. We've definitely got syncretism going on here. They're also kind of misleading the Christians, the priest says. All right, so that's it. Let's look at document number two. All right. Fabian de Vargas, Native American. Okay, so if it's a Native American witnessing testimony in a court case concerning a religious ceremony. Okay, so this is a Native American. So but his name is Fabian de Vargas, so he's probably pretty Spanish, probably pretty pro-Christian. Let's see what he has to say. During the communal adultery of the towns, the Native American elders sacrificed 2 or 3 deer and many turkeys and dogs. They confessed with the towns and heathen priests before making the sacrifices, bringing each heathen priest. Okay, so he's not very pro-native religion. He's probably a Catholic. Payment determined beforehand by the town council and all the town's religious figures. When the sacrifice is over, everyone comes to the place where the ceremony was performed and gets on their knees. After making those sacrifices, the town officials purchase some candles from the money that was paid to them to hold the sacrifice, place them on the altar. All right, so we got syncretism again. They then offer to sing a Christian devotional song. They're also misleading the Spanish. A large feather that usually adorns the images of relics is taken from the church. The side of the sacrifice, the person who officiates the sacrifices sings diabolical songs, wears the feather on his head while performing the ceremonies. During the sacrifices, they post guards. They also give a warning to the Spanish. Okay, so second document right here. They're still performing native rituals, but they're hiding it. We do have a little bit of syncretism going on. It's the point of view of a native who is Christianized. I think he's a Christian because of what he's saying, but most people don't support that. All right, document number 3. Testimony of Captain Diego de Carvalho and the Inquisition. Okay, the Inquisition, the Spanish Inquisition of Luisa Pinta, resident in Rio, Brazil. All right. I saw Luisa at her home with someone. There was a small altar with a canopy. She had a carved knife in her hand, was wearing a large ribbon on her head with her ends thrown backward in the style of an angel. Many people who had come there to be cured were lying on the floor. Okay, she's some kind of mystical woman. On these occasions, said that she had the winds of divination, so that's a religious word, divination, and said that God told her on the occasions of what she was to do. I also heard many times she's been called to go to other towns. Okay, she's like a healer, but I don't know if she's actually Christian because that sounds very old native religion. But if she's a healer, she says she's doing it for God. I don't know. If she is Christian, it's very unique Christian. She's definitely a miracle worker. It does mention the word God, so maybe it is Christian. I'm not sure if she's Christian or not. or she's just telling them. But it does, the curved knife I think is important because that sounds very like Aztec, very native. But I'm doubtful. I'm doubtful if she's actually Christian. All right, so that was a hard one. Document number 4. Saint Benedict of Palermo holding the infant Jesus statue from the Church of Our Lady of the Resurrection of the People of Brazil. Benedict of Palermo was a saint of African ancestry who lived in Italy. The Church of Our Lady of the Rosary of the Black People of San Salvador was built by a religious brotherhood of enslaved and free. Okay, so this is interesting. So it's a saint, a Catholic saint who's black, which is rare because most saints were white. And he's holding baby Jesus. And interesting that it's free African Brazilians because they are no longer enslaved. Oh, some are enslaved, some are not, but they're choosing to be Christian even though they're not enslaved. So this definitely shows syncretism, although I wonder if that was intentionally given a sainthood. Okay, so we've got statue of saint who's African ancestry, brought over by, we know many Africans were brought over by slavery, and their free slaves are choosing to celebrate Christianity. Okay. All right, and then document number 5. Felix de Azara, visiting emissary. Okay, so he's a visiting messenger from the King of Spain. So he's Spanish, 100%. Writing about the Jesuit one Guarani. Okay, so Guarani are an ethnic group in Paraguay. Okay, so these are people, Guarani are people who are trying to be converted. Jesuits are a religious order, 1700s. All right, all were baptized and knew how to say their prayers. So it sounds like they were Christian, which all the boys and unmarried girls had to recite in a chorus near the entrance to the church at dawn. All right, sounds like they're being Christianized. Yet those who are familiar with the place assert that there was little true religion among the Indians. Okay, so it sounds like it wasn't working. This is not strange. In fact, that the Indians themselves say there were few Jesuits capable of preaching the gospel in Guarani. As a partial remedy for the deficiency, the Jesuits had certain clever Indians learn a few sermons, which they preached in the town square after some festival or tournament. I heard some of these, and they contain a good deal of nonsense, which the speaker drew out of his head. So it sounds like it was artificial. We've got like a superficial conversion. They did not fully accept Christianity. Possibly lying to the king. All right, so I'm going to skip this. Actually, you know what? Let's group the documents. That's always important. So for, I think, 1, 2 and 2 specifically, probably 5. 1, 2, and 5. They are talking about syncretism. They are talking about how it changed, but definitely not fully accepting Spanish Christianity. They're not all the way there. And then that leaves documents 3 and 4. 3 was the miracle worker, 4 was the saint. Okay, so this one talks about, which you could argue was a true conversion, but it was a much smaller effect. It wasn't as many people. I don't have time for this at the bottom. Don't have time for my thesis. Contextualization. I could talk about the Columbian Exchange. I could talk about the Spanish conquest of the Aztecs and the Incas. And I did talk about, it's talked about the Jesuits, so maybe I could talk about the different religious orders that were in the New World, like the Jesuits, who are some other ones? The Dominicans and the Franciscans. All right, and then evidence. The thing that I remember, the Virgin of Guadalupe, that mystical healer woman reminded me of her. I don't know. I'm going to have to come back to evidence number 2. All right, let's start writing. I'm now at 35 minutes, so it took me 10 minutes to go through everything. Let's take a look now at actually what it's going to look like, the actual document. So I'm starting with contextualization first. Contextualization. Crap, I'm blanking. I'm getting that scared. What do I do thing. All right. In 1492, Columbus stepped foot on Hispaniola. Okay, so I'll start with that. Columbus he set off a series of processes much larger than the discovery of an island to the west. Okay, namely, this voyage gave rise to the Columbian Exchange, which led to plants, animals, ideas, and people being transferred across the Atlantic Ocean from the old world, from the old world to the new world, and vice versa. Okay. After the success of the Columbus's voyage, the Spanish crown continued its conquest of the Americas and successfully defeated the Inca and Aztec empires. Once political, this is all way too much specialization, but I'm stuck now. Political conquest was accomplished. I got to bring it back to the prompt. Accomplished. That paved the way for religious conquest, especially for a Catholic state like Spain. It was hard to disentangle political, economic, and religious motives for colonization. That's fine. I don't need to talk about the orders. All right, so now I get to my thesis. Although the end result was only minimal lasting change in Latin American culture, Spanish Christianity did introduce some religious syncretism. All right, so that's my first one. That was the easy one. Then what did the others do? Okay, so syncretism was the easy one, but then they didn't accept. Right. And encouraged indigenous people to hide their native religious practices. I got a bunch of spelling typos, but we'll work with that. All right. Although their end result was only a minimal lasting change, the Spanish. All right, I'm going to start with the syncretism one. I think that's the better one. All right. So in some cases, the introduction. How much time? Okay. Only took 4 minutes. Okay. The introduction of Christianity to Latin America did not lead to an exact replica of Spanish Catholic Christianity. So it wasn't exactly like it was in Spain. Christianity. Oh my God. But rather a syncretic blend of Christianity and native practices. All right. For example, let's talk about the first document. For example, the Spaniard giving testimony. I don't need to mention their name. I'm not going to. Testimony in document 3 tells of a woman who apparently had healing powers and heard from God about what to do in such healings. Okay, let's talk about it. All right, now I'm going to source this one. Given that this testimony is given in the context of the Spanish Inquisition. All right, so I'm not going to do historical context for this one. It is unlikely that, who was he? What was his rank again? He was document 3? He was a captain, yeah. That the captain of the Inquisition believes her conversion to be authentic. All right. It's okay. It's easy. Okay, it's easy to see why, since he testifies to her use of a curved knife in her rituals, a tool that was not known to be used in Roman Catholic religious rituals. Okay, this is a significant, I gotta go back to the prompt, a significant example of change, because although the Spanish inquisitors, oh my gosh, inquisitors, may not have authenticated her faith in divine miracles, it is clear that the people of her region did. Okay. I still think that was confusing, so I don't know if it was really true. So I'm gonna add that in there. However, it's unclear whether they gathered for her because she was a Christian or because she was simply a worker of miracles. All right. That was a lot. I didn't probably need that last sentence. Additionally, document 4 is evidence of the introduction of African Christianity into the Americas. So let's get into this document. All right, so this is the priest. Okay, this one. The fact that Africans were there at all is a result of the transatlantic slave trade and the failure of the encomienda. All right, maybe maybe that's outside evidence. Encomienda, system of labor. Well, how can I tie that back to the prompt? I don't know. I got nothing else for that. I'm going to move on. The portrayal, maybe we'll come back. The portrayal of a saint of African descent in a church created by, what was it? It was enslaved and free African Brazilians. Okay, created by enslaved and free slaves, enslaved and free slaves, slaves, emphasizes the blending of religious traditions. Okay, so this is significant because why does it matter that it matters that he's black because most saints were white, but a darker skinned saint would appeal to the indigenous people as well as the former and current slaves who were better able to see themselves, that's what I want to say, in Spanish Christianity. Okay. What is it? Okay. Oh, okay. Now I got it. Now this would fit well here. Okay. Another example of real change and syncretism is real change and syncretism in Latin America is the introduction. Latin America. Okay. Was the rise of the cult of the Virgin of Guadalupe. I can have a lot to talk about this. All right. Apparently, I got to talk about what this is. Apparently, the Virgin Mary appeared in a vision, and this happened in Mexico to I think it was a Mexican man, and the result was the indigenous veneration, which is worship of the Virgin Mary, and we know obviously the Virgin Mary is very important, perhaps the most important Catholic saint. But this was important because she combined Mesoamerican and Spanish ideas of divine motherhood. Divine is godly, divine motherhood, obviously, which would lead to the conversion of more natives because of her miraculous nature and the fact she was one of their own. Okay, that is, I think, solid for outside evidence. All right, let's go down to the next body paragraph. So that was body paragraph number 1. I'm good. I have 22 minutes, so I'm okay on this. I'm going to slow it down a second, take a look back here. All right, so did syncretism. So that was true conversion. I'm going to talk about how they did change a little bit, but they did not fully accept Christianity. Or my outside. Okay, so I did virgin. I gotta think of another evidence for this one. I don't know. Fully accept. Okay, so it seems like they didn't accept because they were being forced. I talked in my historical context about defeating the military. What about Ferdinand and Isabella? Were the ones who funded Columbus. They also really wanted to Christianize that part of the world. Maybe something with, like, if I can combine state power with religious conversion. I don't know. State power and maybe something will come up. I don't know. All right, so let's see what we're talking about here. All right, so this thing is how they were not really. So I got documents 1, 2, 5. Okay, so some were legit. All right, so I'll say despite the undoubted authenticity of some conversions, like we talked about above, conversions to Christianity, it appears more often than not the response was a superficial one. Okay. And therefore, it can be argued that little, I'm talking about, what's the prompt again? Little change occurred in terms of pure Spanish Christianity. Pure classical Spanish Christianity. Okay. For example, in document, which one's document? What's document? Yeah, 1 would work. All right. In document 1, what was this one about? Second one. Oh yeah, this is a priest. So a priest confesses that unless the Amerindians are strictly under, because didn't I say that? Strictly under the watchful eye. Okay, strictly under the watchful eye of the Catholic authorities. They continue to engage in their native religious practices, even if they are mixing some elements of Christianity. All right. So maybe I could talk about the. What can I do? What do I want to do outside? I don't know. And since this document comes from a priest who is training other priests, he is unlikely, and I can talk about his point of view, to see syncretic mixing as a legitimate Christian practice. Okay. All right. Even if the natives were sincere. All right. So therefore, it is significant because it appears that there was only superficial change in this region, at least from the perspective of the priest. I think that's a little bit of happy right there. Related to this are the practices in document 2. Practices in document 2. All right. The author. What was he talking about? What was he talking about? Document 2. Yeah, this is the one they were talking about. The confession. The author tells of the Amerindians performing indigenous religious sacrifices in secret due to why are they doing that? Secret to avoid retaliation of the Spanish authorities. Okay. This is interesting because the author is Native American, but I don't think he's indigenous religious, and yet appears to be Christian when he uses language like heathen, referring to his fellow natives, and uses, what did he say? He said something religious. Yeah, Our Lady. And Our Lady, referring to the Virgin Mary. Though his conversion does appear to be legitimate, it provides further evidence that these changes were few and far between, since He is one man describing the actions of an entire village. He's just one dude who differ from him. Okay. All right. I'm going to mention that last document just because, additionally, just in case I need to, in document 5, witnesses, because it was kind of the same thing, witnesses similar inconsistencies. That's not right. Inconsistencies. All right. So, because document 5 was about the speaker, and they went to the Jesuit camp. All right. In that town, everyone was baptized, and what was it? Baptized and knew how to say their prayers and could recite prayers, but to the emissaries' judgment, they were not true Christians because of the persistence of the native religion. Okay, so this dude is obviously it sounds like they're becoming Christian, but he's not buying it. That's probably because he's a Spaniard. So clearly, as a native Spaniard raised in the culture of the Roman Catholic Church, he would be unlikely to see any form of syncretic belief and practice as legitimate Christianity. This could be due to his own blind, I'm definitely happy in this guy, due to his own blind assumptions, since Spanish Catholicism focused on the veneration, I like that word, veneration, the worship of saints, building elaborate cathedrals, and paying priests to absolve sins. Well, I'm going to ironically, this type of Christianity would have largely been unrecognizable to Jesus and his apostles. I'm going to try to get some complex thinking here, who worshipped together from house to house without any luxuries of the current church, the Spanish church. All right. So how much time do I got? I got 10 minutes left. All right. So I'm good. I still think I need one more piece of outside evidence. I got my complex thinking, my thesis. I've got documents. I'm good with document 3, good with document 4. I feel like I did a pretty good job with the outside evidence with document 4. I definitely did I definitely talked about context with document 1. I definitely tried to do document 5, tried to talk about his point of view. Document 2 talks about their point of view. I need another outside evidence. So what was I saying about something about Ferdinand and Isabella? Ferdinand and Isabella. Okay, religion and government. Oh, maybe there's something. Okay, let's just start. Furthermore, because Catholicism was so deeply, here we go, deeply tied to state power in Spain, it is likely that much of the influence of Christianity in Latin America was superficial, which is what I was kind of talking about earlier, and produced little change. Okay. Ferdinand and Isabella. I don't know about them. Okay, so they funded much of funded many of the Spanish explorations were deeply invested not only in the political conquest of the Americas, but the religious conquest as well. Therefore, it was unlikely, try to get that complex thinking point. It was likely difficult for the natives whom Christian conversion was preached to know where state power stopped and religion began. Okay, in that case, many natives would simply have converted out of fear of retribution and punishment from the state by means of the feared Spanish Inquisition, thus providing more evidence for superficial change. Bam. All right, I think that works. Let me clean this up. Let's do some scram. I got a lot of this. All right, it's Hispaniola. Oh, shoot. Processes. Oh my God. Got 6 minutes. Okay. Namely, exchange animals, Atlantic world, successfully defeated political, especially political, religious colonization, secretism, introduction, practices, inquisition, authentic, known, religious rituals. Inquisitor people, it's gathered because additionally portray a saint, besides the religious, significant people themselves, will change, Guadalupe, apparently a virgin, conversion, strictly religious elements, unlikely, syncretic, legitimate, practice, significant, effective, priest to document, religious, sacrifices, authorities, because language. Knowledge, additionally, witnesses similar, inconsistency, because church, syncretic, belief, legitimate, awesome. Recognizable apostles, worship, luxuries, because invested. Oh my God, I really got a lot of typos here. This is a lot easier than stopping and starting, though, I'll tell you that. No, I like that. Yeah, okay, awesome. That makes it a lot look nice. Okay, so I'm going to go back over. I got about 6 minutes left. I feel like my context is good. I'm good with my thesis. All right, so the only question I had was this outside evidence. Virgin of Guadalupe one's fine. Do I want to add anything to this Ferdinand and Isabella? It's likely that much little chance. Therefore, yeah, no. I feel like I know who they are. I know they're Spanish. I know that they're kings and queens. Add the monarchs. Yeah, I feel like that's good outside evidence. Yeah, I'm gonna stop there. So that was. Got 5 minutes remaining. That was the essay. That was the whole thing. That's what it looks like from start to finish. let's now look through each of them, and let's look at how you could, because if you guys remember what we did for your assignment DBQ when you guys wrote the body paragraphs, you highlighted the specific things. So, for example, Julian, you do this, yeah. Thanks, Julian. So, what you have, we highlighted like blue and green, all these different things. So we're going to highlight that to show you where all my things are. Same way we did the body paragraph. So this first part right here, obviously, is all my contextualization. So this is all contextualization right here. And then this is obviously my thesis. So that's kind of where it is. If you notice about my contextualization was kind of long, but I wanted to bring it back to this last point, which was I thought was really important. Because I wanted to make this parallel between the political conquest and the religious one, which is also, if you noticed, that's kind of starting to get towards my complex thinking, which I'm trying to get back to at the end down here as well, is kind of bring it full circle. And then I kind of have this underlying theme. Like that was my attempt at complex thinking, was the religious connection to the political one. So whether or not I would get the point for that, who knows? But that was the attempt. This is obviously the thesis. So then the thesis was Christianity did introduce some religious syncretism was one, and then obviously people that hide their native religious practices was the other. So this first one was my first one, which was talking about this syncretic blend of Christianity and native practices. And then I mentioned document number 3. This is the use of what's going on in document number 3. So I'm talking about this is what's happening in document number 3. And then I go straight into the analysis right here. Where's that? Yeah. Yeah, this is all happy. And right here, this is a significant, I connect it back to the prompt. So this is significant. This is significant. A lot of typos. They're not going to mark you down for the typos as long as I have a general idea of what you're saying. But, it's a good thing I had some time to go back and do the spelling and grammar check, because that was bad. That was bad. But, whatever. I had an idea and I rolled with it. All right. And then additionally, document 4. This would be my second. This right here is my second, connecting it back. So this theme, topic sentence. So both of these are talking about syncretism. And then this part right here, this is all the use of the document, what the document's talking about. I did mention this. This might be outside evidence just because it talked about the slave trade, but I don't know. That wasn't. And I talked about the encomienda system, but I didn't go far enough of that to be outside evidence. I just mentioned something. Remember, outside evidence can't just merely be a phrase. You've got to kind of elaborate it, and I didn't have anywhere to go with that, so I didn't go anywhere. So I went down here. This is all using of the documents. And remember, I explained why it connected. I talked about this is significant because, and then this part right here, this whole part was all outside evidence. So you'll notice a big difference between this outside evidence and this outside evidence. You can see why one gets the point and the other one doesn't. The Virgin of Guadalupe one was a lot better because this one didn't really talk about how it led to changes in Latin America. It just said like Africans came by the slave trade. Okay. But why did that lead to religious changes? I didn't mention anything about that. So that would not work. The Virgin of Guadalupe one was a lot better because it connected back to the prompt. So when you're doing outside evidence, you got to do it twice. I did it 3 times technically, but that would not count the first time I did it. All right. So let's take a look now. This part right here, I'm now talking about how they hid their religion. They had to keep going. I'm going to talk about document number 1. Document number 1, and then I talk about the point of view is from the priest. So this right here is your analysis. And then I talked about why it's significant, because there was only superficial change according to him. That was really that's point of view. So now I've technically done it twice and I'm done. I do it again one more time just to make sure I get it, but I'm done at that point. So I kind of went more than I needed to do. So that might be kind of helpful to you guys to know. And then related to this are the practices in document 2. Now you'll notice I didn't like the first time I like mentioned what it is, African Christianity, but I don't think I needed to the second time because it's this pretty much the same thing. So I didn't really go into detail there. But this part right here is all document 2. Is again what the document is, and then I thought this was a really good document to source, so I copied this one as well. Again, didn't need to, but I did anyways. And then I didn't say this is significant, but I did talk about why it's further evidence. So that's just another way to say it. It provides further evidence that these changes were few and far between. So that's just another way of saying this is significant or it matters. I just said it a different way. And additionally, and then I did one more. See, I went way more than you guys need to because at that point I'm already done. But I went again and I did document 5. Additionally, document 5 witnesses similar inconsistencies. And then I talked specifically here about this one. And then I think I copied again. Well, kind of. I don't know if I would call that a happy. Actually, technically not, because I kind of talked about his viewpoint. But I think really what I was trying to go for here more was the complex thinking point. I don't know if I even got it. Maybe, but probably not. You're like talking about Jesus and stuff. Talking about Jesus and stuff. I don't really know. Document 5 I just kind of threw in there at the end. But this was definitely an attempt to do complex thinking. This is kind of where I try to keep it going throughout the essay. And then this last part right here, this was all outside information. And then lastly, this is where I feel like if I would have gotten anywhere, it would have been here. Was trying to connect it back to complex thinking, talking about this idea of state. This whole thing about the whole reason why it didn't work is because it was the political thing. The state was the one who really wanted people to convert. It wasn't out of the necessity of they wanted what's best for the native people. It was control and it was power for the Spanish. So that was kind of the underlying complex thinking thing. So that's the essay from start to finish. That's the whole thing. If you're feeling overwhelmed, remember I did way more than I needed to. I didn't need to do all this. And 2, I think this helped a lot. You notice I didn't fill everything out. I left a lot of stuff blank. You definitely don't have time to fill everything out here. But what really helped me was this, because I had an idea of where I was going to go with each of my body paragraphs because I felt like I understood the main ideas of each of the documents. Now these, I don't even think I talked about that one. I mentioned it, but that wasn't my hip. So this was not as helpful for me. This was. What else was really helpful for me was the contextualization, because that made me, I wasn't waiting for a while to start. And then this really helped. What was I going to do for evidence beyond the document? So just kind of jotting down things. And you'll notice I didn't have this at the time. This came to me while I was writing. I had one of them, not the other one. But I was like Virgin of Guadalupe when I was looking at like document number 3. So that's the whole thing from start to finish. That's what the DBQ looks like. Tomorrow you're going to write one. Obviously, we don't meet regularly on Tuesdays, so you're going to write one tomorrow at 2 o'clock or 2:30 is when it's going to start. So try logging on at 2:15, and you're going to write one. And it's going to. I really want you guys to see what it's like to feel that 45 minutes, and how that feels like. And if you want to have notes with you, have all your make it look like you're going to write the real DBQ and see what it feels like and what you can do and what you can't do and how much you can get written. All right. Are there any questions about the essay or the process and stuff like that? What were the different types of complex thinking? So I will say this. I've taught this class for a while, for 4 years. I still don't feel like I know what complex thinking is and what it exactly looks like. So what I think of is, can you kind of have a deeper understanding? Is there a deeper kind of belief that you can see what the essay? For me, it was like I had this idea in the back of my head that like, oh, state power and religious, those two things sound like they could kind of be maybe deep. So let me put those throughout the rest of my essay. Now there's a lot of different ways to do it. I mean, this is a change essay, so it's really not simple. Yeah, that's a tough question. I might have to come back to you on that one. I think it was Olivia. Any other questions that you guys have about this one? Now, here's the thing. If you felt like that was a lot, I don't shoot for a 10. Like you can still pass the APSA and AP and do really well if you're strategic about it. You guys wrote really good body paragraphs. You know what a good body paragraph looks like. You're doing a really nice job with contextualization. You can write a thesis. Stick to the things that you're good at. I mean, look at that. A thesis, contextualization, and one body paragraph is a pretty solid start. Now, you need 2 to pass, but I mean, it's really not as much as I feel like you think it is. Instead of trying to, because I remember when you guys first wrote it and your essays were not good, it's because you try to do everything. And then as you guys got better, you realized, let me just focus on specific things, and then I can write a better score. Maybe I don't get a 10, maybe I don't get a 9, but that's okay. I can still pass the AP exam without it. So don't push yourself if you feel like, you've been on a good path and I just overwhelmed you. I just wanted to show you what the whole thing looked like. I want to show you from start to finish what the whole essay would look like. Don't feel like you have to replicate it, but that's what it looks like. Stick to the stuff we've been working in class, stick to the stuff we've been doing here, following the same format that I did here was what I did in the essay. Okay. Any other questions that you guys have? Nope. All right. So that's the full essay. You guys are going to write one tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we're going to go over the information. One other thing I wanted to point out is today, I just saw this after I taught first period. Heimler History is doing a AP World Live review, which I think would be a really, really good. I'm not giving you guys any homework, so there's nothing you need to complete today. This is optional, but I think it's a really good idea to check in with his review. He's usually great, and I would watch his review just to kind of practice for the essay. See how much you remember from when you did the review way back in the day. So I think he's probably going to do a series of them. I would check those out. But otherwise, that's all we have. That's all I got for you. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 2. Try to log on around 2:15 because I'm going to start right at 2:30 is when I'm going to release the documents, and then I'm going to start the timer. Okay? If you guys have nothing else, you're good to go, and I will see you tomorrow. Make sure that you check out some Heimler history today, and otherwise, you guys are all good.
Wait, actually, I have a question.